So I'm here with a little chatty video just to tell you about something that's been going on in our life at the moment. So I recently ordered, I will show you the book, the Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover. I decided to order it because I thought it would give me some tips on better budgeting, and that was all. Like, I had intended to pay off some debts, but not really go for it, just maybe give me a better idea of budgeting so that I could get some paid off. Because in my head, when we started out, we didn't have a lot of debt and it was all interest free, which to me is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, surely. Me and my husband each had separate debt as well that was neither, like, we didn't know about each other's. It wasn't high, it's not a lot, but we didn't know about each other's because we were sort of that, well, we have our joint money, here's our separate, we'll deal with it. So I was hoping to get a better idea to budget my money to pay off my bit of the debt. But having read this, the biggest part for me, I'm just going to read it out. The biggest bit for me was Dave's rants on page 119. Here's the deal. When you get married, you become a team. He wasn't joking at your wedding when they said, and now you are one. It's called unity. The old marriage vows say, unto thee I pledge all my worldly goods. In other words, I'm all in. So combine the checking accounts. I have to quickly say, this is an American book. I'm in the UK. I do understand what he's saying. It's hard to have unity when you separate your bank accounts. When his money is over here and her money is over there, it's easy to live in your own little financial world instead of working as a team. When you do your spending together, it's about our money. We have an income, we have expenses, we have goals. When you're both in agreement on where your money's going, you've taken a major step to being on the same page in your marriage, and you will create awesome levels of communication. This all boils down to trust. Do you trust your spouse or not? I've heard from people who keep separate bank accounts just in case their spouse leaves them. Why would you marry someone you couldn't trust? And if that's the case, you need marriage counselling, not separate bank accounts. Your spouse isn't your roommate and this isn't a joint business venture. It's a marriage. You don't run your household and your life separately. Your job is to love each other well, and that includes having shared financial goals, which is hard to do when you have separate accounts. When I read that, I realised that a huge problem in our, not a problem in our marriage, but a huge deal for me is communication. Me and my husband do struggle to communicate sometimes. It's hard in life. Life is hard. Our life can be really difficult because we spend all of our time communicating about our children, and having a child with autism means that communication, you spend all of your life trying to teach your child how to communicate and trying to teach him how to communicate well with himself, with us, and with others. And we spent so much time doing that communication with each other sort of went by the wayside. And I realised that we didn't ever communicate about finances. My husband was happy for me to do the budget every month, and that was it. He put money into our joint account for bills, and we budgeted. I did it all. And then I realised that we didn't talk about it, and it was causing me stress and anxiety because I worry about what's going to happen if something happens to me, and my husband would have no idea what bills had to get paid, when they had to get paid, how to pay them, anything like that. And I panicked and I get anxious about it. I felt a loss of control, and the loss of control came from having all of the control. So I sat my husband down and I talked to him. I asked him to read this, but unfortunately at the moment he is in an incredibly busy season of his job. And it doesn't have time to read this. So I went through the basics with him. I also showed him the baby steps. I went through it all with him. I read bits out to him, and I was brutally honest about everything. I told him exactly how all of our finances work. Now, we are in a very fortunate position and we don't have any savings. We don't have any savings for retirement. We just don't save. We spend what we have and that's it. And I realised that I don't want to reach the age of retirement and I'm the person that Dave Ramsey talks about. I'm the one that says, oh, it'll be fine. but it won't be fine. Who knows? By the time I retire or my husband retires, the government may not give us any money. You might not get a pension. That might not exist anymore. And I do not want to be going out to work at 80, or my husband to be going out to work at 80, because we can't afford to pay our bills because we have no savings and we have no pension. I don't want that to be us. The mantra of this book, it's printed all along the bottom. It says, if you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to save. I want to be able to save for our retirement, for our children's future. My eldest son may never be able to go out to work. We don't know. His life really is completely unknown. I know that everybody's children's lives are unknown. Like, you don't know what they're going to do, but his is a complete unknown. We don't know if he'll ever be able to live by himself or function by himself in society. We don't know if he'll be able to go out to work. Even if he is functioning enough to go out to work, 85% of adults with autism are unemployed. It is a hard life to live. We don't know if by the time he's old enough to work, if that's going to be different. I hope it is. I hope it's different for everybody, but we don't know. So it's that fear of the unknown, that loss of control that makes me anxious. So we decided to do something about it. I went through our budgeting. Originally I had thought we would pay off our debt, which would, in this country, people equate to credit cards, car payments, store cards, those sort of things. And then I realised that we had more than that. Debt, in Dave Ramsey's eyes, is borrowing for anything. It doesn't matter if it's not % interest, if you pay it off in 6 months, it doesn't matter. It's a payment you have to make. Now for me, that payment we had to make, it wasn't a big deal. We could afford it, which is why I didn't think it was a problem. We had debt, we have 0% interest debt, we can afford to pay it every month. But that's the problem. We pay our car tax monthly. We pay our car insurance monthly. If my husband lost his job tomorrow, we would have an incredibly long list of bills that we have to pay every month. If we did this Dave Ramsey style, we would have a very short list of bills that had to get paid every month, and we would have a short list of savings that would eventually have to get put money into, like our car tax, okay? I'm going to use that as my example. I pay car tax monthly. There is a tiny fee to do that, which is taken into account in your monthly payments. I'm just going to check how much our monthly car tax payments. So we pay £13 a month for car tax. In my head, that's used to be, my pre-Dave Ramsey mindset meant that was fine. £13 is nothing. We can afford that. No worries. My husband lost his job. £13 is enough to feed our children for 3 days. It's enough to feed everybody for 3 days. Why am I paying that? So, if we had been paying, while he has a job, if we'd been paying £13 every month into a savings account, we would have, our car would be taxed at the beginning. When the bill came in, we would pay for cash to tax our car for the further year. Which means that for that entire year, our car is taxed. If at any point in there something happened, my husband lost his job, or I didn't earn any money, if that happened in that year, we'd still have car tax for the remainder of the year. And when we got back on our feet, we'd be able to pay it. As it stands now, we pay every month for car tax. My husband lost his job in the middle of the year, we would not have car tax. We would default. Or we'd be taking that money out of vital funds. Food, gas, electric, all of that would have to come out of there to pay car tax. It's ridiculous. The baby steps. This is what we're going to follow. What we are following. We started this month. This is September, by the way, September 2015 that we're starting. These are the baby steps. I printed this off the Dave Ramsey website. My husband is a very visual person, so am I, so we have this so that he could see exactly what it was. So step 1 is $1,000 in an emergency fund. Obviously we're the UK, so it's £1,000 in an emergency fund. This emergency fund is because there should be a step 0. Step 0 is to agree to yourself, to your partner, to everybody that you are never going to borrow money again. You're never going to get into debt for anything again. So the emergency fund is a very small emergency fund for step 1. This is to keep you going. You get current on all your bills, so you're up to date, you're paying the minimums on every debt, and then you save £1,000. We were really lucky, we actually had £1,000 in savings, and Dave Ramsey's plan is you should take everything out of savings except that 1,000. So we left that 1,000 in savings, we have our baby emergency fund built up. So if anything were to come up, the car broke down, needed new tyres, things like that, these are unexpected life events that you need money for, that ordinarily we would all go, oh, I'll shove it on the credit card because I can't afford it. It's not an emergency fund for a holiday or a takeaway one night. That's not what it is. It's an emergency fund. You and your spouse should agree what that emergency fund means, or if something comes up, you should speak to them. But anyway, that is step 1. We've already done step 1. Check. So, step 2, pay off all debt with the debt snowball. The idea of this is you list your sorry, I just heard the dogs. You list your debts from smallest to largest. Now, this is going to sound crazy. In my entire life, I've always been told you pay off ones with the highest interest rate. Dave Ramsey says ignore interest rates. That was a big deal for me. I'm like, okay. So, you list them from the smallest to the largest, and you're going to start with the smallest. You pay the minimum payment on each one to keep you current. So you never default, you just pay the minimum payments. So you pay the minimum payments on all of your bills, and on your smallest one, you pay as much extra as you can possibly squeeze out of your budget into that. As much, you throw it at your smallest debt. When your smallest debt is paid off, you take what was the minimum payment for that, add it onto the second smallest debt's minimum payment, then throw anything extra you can at that. Sorry. Yeah, you throw all you can at that. So on and so forth. And that's where the snowball idea comes in. Your minimum payments will snowball because you'll say you paid £200 total a month in minimum payments. Well, the first one was, say, £50 was the minimum payment. If you took that £50 away from that debt because you finished paying for it and put it towards the next one, you're doubling. You're adding that to that debt and will pay it off quicker. The reasoning behind this is also that as a society we like quick fixes. This is not a quick fix. People will tell you, oh, you pay an extra £5 to each bill and eventually 10 years down the line, whatever, you've paid everything off and it's fine. In that time you haven't learnt anything. Dave Ramsey says that money and financial happiness is 80% behaviour, and I totally agree. 20% knowledge. We don't have the knowledge of finances when we're born. We learn this. And as a society, we've learned that you're supposed to have debt. You're supposed to have a credit card. You're supposed to have car payments. Nobody buys a car outright unless you're really lucky. Or actually, I'm going to scratch that. As a nation, that's not true. As a generation, that's true. My age and younger, and some people older than me, that's what we were brought up with. You're supposed to have a credit card. My parents didn't do that. My parents really didn't do that. They knew the value of money to their detriment sometimes. My nan would never buy anything. My nan had so much money building up when she got old because she didn't have as many bills, but she wouldn't buy anything. She was scared she couldn't afford it. So that was to her detriment. But if she had learned about finances in the way that Dave Ramsey teaches finances, she would have retained her ability to not get into debt, but she also would have realised that she'd done it so she could live like no one else. You can enjoy like no one else. So once you've snowballed your debt, you're building it up quicker. It also, if you're just putting a little bit to each debt at a time, you see no payoff. It's dull, it's really dull, so you won't stick with it. Whereas when you've got a debt snowball, you pay off that small debt and you feel like, yeah, come on, I can do this. And that gives you the impetus to do more. It gives you that oomph that you need. So you keep going and you will find ways of finding extra money. You'll take up extra hours at work, you do extra jobs, you might sell stuff. I have actually, just as a little example, I have sold some stuff on eBay last week. And paid off the smallest debt in our debt snowball already. The smallest debt in our debt snowball was £94. We had a debt that was a 0% interest finance on glasses. My husband and I both got new glasses last year, and at that time we did not have the spare £200 to just pay for glasses. So we bought them on finance, because in my head that £18 a month was like, yeah, that's nothing. We can totally afford that. We'll never save up for it. Why? What is wrong with me? Why can we not save up for it? Because every month we have more month left than money, because we didn't plan. You need to budget, do a zero budget. That is the key to Dave Ramsey. You have to allocate all of your money, and you have to do it properly. I was budgeting, but I wasn't budgeting for little things like, oh, I didn't budget for takeaway. I would add that to my groceries, but my groceries budget wasn't big enough to cover the amount of takeaways we would have. I didn't budget for Netflix. £7 a month. Oh, it's okay, it's just £7. That all adds up, and we ended up with no money at the end of the month, which is ridiculous. I want to be able to save to take my children to Legoland. Okay, my son is obsessed with Legoland Hotel. I'm not sure he's even that bothered about the actual park. He wants to go to the hotel. We want to go. We want to save up and go, but we want to do it properly. We want to do it like this. We want to have no debt, no payments, nothing. And we want to do it properly. After you have no debt, step 3 is to save 3 to 6 months of expenses and savings. Before I started and read the whole book, I thought that's just not possible. I can't do that. That's too much money. But the whole idea is once you've got rid of your debt and your payments, you won't have that many expenses that have to be paid. This is emergency funds. This is, you've lost your job. You need 3 to 6 months to find a new one. It's not 3 to 6 months of what you earn at the moment or what you have coming in and going out at the moment. It's 3 to 6 months of basic expenses you can live on. If that means you no longer save towards car tax, car insurance and all those things, that's okay, because when you get a job, you rebudget, you restructure, you build up again, you start again. You start your sinking funds to save money. I think I'm going to have to make this a whole series, otherwise you guys are going to get so bored of hearing me talk. So that's step 3. We're nowhere near that. We are on step 2. We are on our very first month. I'm using my Erin Condren notebook as a budget planner. And we're going to do this. We are going to get ourselves out of debt. We are in an incredibly, incredibly fortunate position. We do not have that much debt. We have a small amount of debt. I will say you should not include mortgages in your debt. That comes later. That is step 6. Don't include your mortgage in your original debt snowball. So we are going to do this. We are going to pay off absolutely everything. And I have noticed already that having sat down and done a budget with my husband and worked it out, we are both on the same page. We are both so eager to make this work that I think we're making more of an effort. That's it, yeah. I'm going to do some separate videos on this because otherwise you're going to have like an hour-long video of me rambling, which nobody wants to see. So I'll do some other videos of this. If anybody has any questions or anything they want me to do a video on, please ask down below, or you can find me on Instagram. I'll put my Instagram name just here. Buy this book. I know I'm telling you to get out of debt. If you have to use a credit card to buy this book, buy this book. You need to read this. Go to your library. Ask them to get it in. Most libraries will get in books if they don't have them. I have been watching tons of YouTube videos, but the only issue I have found with this is they're all in the US. I can't find any in the UK that are this system based, but this is the one I'm doing. This book spoke to me and I'm going to do it. So yeah, I'm decided to tell you guys about this because this is going to hold me accountable. I can't come on YouTube in 6 months' time on a vlog and say, oh, look what we just bought on our credit card, or look what we just bought that's way more money than we have, because I will look like a fool. And I don't want to look like a fool, because being honest and realistic here, I've already been a fool. I've got the debt in the first place and that should never have happened. Nobody should have debt. We shouldn't need it. We should be able to structure and budget and plan, and so we can live properly and enjoy life. On that note, my dogs are barking. I'm going to go and see what they want. And yeah, so if anybody has any questions, please ask down below. If you liked this video and would like to see more like this, please give me a little thumbs up, and you can subscribe down below as well if you're not already and would like to be. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.